And I just don't feel comfortable with anyone legislating without having any of these conversations.
Watch out, you're going to get added to a watch list.
I know I'm going to be on some watch lists. I think churches, like, collectively have way too much power. Like,
not to bring this back to Charlie Kirk, but there was some involvement.
He's evangelical, right?
Okay, so who's in the wrong?
The university.
Well, you think.
Yeah, that's what I think. What do you think? Welcome to Grace and Reyna Ruin Everything.
I'm Grace.
I'm Reyna.
We're bringing you conversations you should be having with your best friend.
We cover everything from wellness to relationship woes to politics.
In a world that feels increasingly black and white, we bring in the nuance.
Expect honest dialogue as we explore what it means to be a human woman in her 30s in today's world.
Whether you're questioning the status quo, seeking deeper connections, or here for the unhinged tangents, you've come to the right place.
Come for the combo, stay for the vibes. We're live.
We're live. We're back.
Back again. We live to tell another story another week.
We're back, baby.
I know. It's been a while since we've recorded those, so I don't remember how to do it.
Well, we got to start with Rants and Raves.
Oh, all right. I actually didn't think of one. Did you? I know that we pre-gamed before this, like pre-planned like 5 minutes ago, but I forgot about this.
Reyna, your fans you're letting down your fans. I have a rave. Okay, so basically I feel like I've been like languishing a little bit the past couple months. We just like went through a lot of changes with our family, with moving. And then I feel like I had lost a little bit of momentum in my business. And I was kind of in this like crossroads of feeling like, and this happens every once in a while as an entrepreneur, that you're just like questioning your entire life. And you're like, why did I even do I even like this? What I do, my life? I don't know. You're literally like questioning everything. And entrepreneurship is fucking hard. And you're like, why am I doing this to myself? And I think I was just kind of going around in circles, spinning around, and just like, I don't know what the fuck shifted, but last week I just like remembered and realized that, like, the same as what I coach my clients, it's like if you decide that you're doing it, then you're doing it. I don't know. I just like decided to get myself out of the funk. I just decided that I'm recommitting to my vision and I'm just going to fucking make it happen. Like, I'm fucking back. I'm motherfucking back. So yeah,
You just gave yourself a kick in the pants.
Yeah, I started like realizing that what I was struggling with was really exactly what I coach people on, which is this feeling that like you don't quite feel like your life and career feel like in alignment.
Yeah.
And I actually realized, super meta, but I was like, oh, I get it. I was like gearing up for this launch of my signature program that happens early next year. And I was starting to get in my head about it because I was like, how am I going to like guide these women if I feel kind of like off? I don't feel my best. It was really fucking with my head. And then I had this realization that like always happens when you're a coach and you're guiding others. You get kind of put back through the gauntlet on the same topic that you are literally teaching people on. And it's like, in prepping for this launch, it's kind of like my soul going back through the ringer of like, oh yeah, what does it feel like when you feel like, what the fuck am I doing in my life? And what is it all for? And what is the purpose? And who the fuck am I? And so now I've realized it's my opportunity to guide myself through it, to lead myself through it. So I literally just started doing my program. The program.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh wait, this is what I do with my clients. I just have to like be my own client. It's very meta, it's very meta. So
yeah, I feel like that's a really normal thing to go on in your 30s, where like you are just like wondering what's right, what's wrong, what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing or whatever. Right. There's like the motherhood thing.
Yeah.
There's like, if you're not a mother or like you're single, there's like that whole thing. And then it is probably what around the peak of your career, or like you're about to be peaking. So you kind of want to make sure you're on the right track if that matters to you at all. I'm sure you see a lot of that.
No, exactly. I see a lot of women having these kind of identity crises. Like all the reasons you said, there's a lot of factors that make us question if we're on the right path. But I think for me, it can be a little scary when I have those moments, because then it makes me feel like the fears come up, or the limiting beliefs come up of like, am I a fraud? Am I like, wait, If I don't feel like my life is perfect right now,
I wish
how
more
am I
people would
gonna?
ask themselves if they're a fraud because a lot of people are.
Well, I do you think I am?
I don't know.
No, I think that it's really normal. Okay, here's what I know about transformational coaching is like I've gone through these transformations, these identity crises, these questionings of my entire life purpose like every couple of years. So I do know how to move through it. I have guided myself through it. I've guided plenty of people through it, and I'm going to guide myself through it again because it's something I've dealt with. But I think a lot of women come up to this and maybe it's like the first time they've ever felt something like that,
Yeah.
and they don't even know how to name it, what they need. And so it's like, well, yes, maybe I'm going through one right now, but also this is like my fourth time. So come on over, step right up. Like, you want to know someone that's been through it before? Why it happens to me all the time, I don't know. I
I think
think
it
it's
happens to everyone all the time, but people either like don't want to go through it or they don't recognize it. And so a lot of people just like to stay the same. They don't want to go through change. They don't want to go through transformation. And I think that's especially true like the older we get, people just want to be who they are. And once I had an astrology reading, by the way, where this guy, the astrologer, told me that I'm attracted to change so much that it freaks other people out.
mm,
Yeah. I don't remember like where in my chart he saw that, but I thought that was really funny.
maybe that's part of our charts that's the same because I've had this question come up a few times recently. I'm like, why am I transforming my entire life like every couple years? It feels like it's like crazy. But I decided, and this is what I'm recommitting to in my I'm fucking back, is like my soul is evolving so fast and I am like so obsessed with alignment and obsessed with evolution and obsessed with growth that like I think maybe I'm just sort of accelerating through that at a higher rate than what like a regular person would bother doing.
That's
That's what I've
interesting.
decided.
I have the opposite feeling about me where my soul is completely complete. You know, I've told you this is my soul's last time on this planet. It will not be returning. I feel this like eternal sense of tiredness, but I think that my soul just is like, we're bored, let's do new stuff. Like we've done
Just for
everything.
funsies.
Let's just for funsies. Like it's not so much about like development of self because I feel like I've always been me. Like I feel like I've always squarely been me and I've never been anything else. And like there's different like nuances and obviously there's like growth, but I just don't feel different than I've ever been. And I just think it's because my soul's like, yeah, you are who you are. We already did what you did. I don't know when, but yeah, that's
Well,
my last hurrah. It's very exciting.
yeah, this is a big,
It's my
I
grand
was gonna
slam.
say year, but it's like a big lifetime.
Yeah, it's my whole lifetime. It's not this year that my soul's leaving. It's
Yeah.
into
No, I know. I just, well, I don't know. We're getting to the end of the year, New Year's. I was like, 2025. Oh, wait, no, we mean like lifetime.
that like my lifetime. It's my soul's last time. And I don't even know where I got that idea, but someone like mentioned it and I was like, that's me. Like I just feel it so strongly that it's me.
Yeah, I can see it. I can
Yeah.
sense it.
Well, that is cool.
Well, okay. Any rants, raves?
Well, I don't have a rant or a rave. It's like just a thing of note. Maybe people care, but Alex and I have been watching Lost, and I've never seen it, and it's like the best, worst show on the planet. It's like, did you watch it when it was out?
I was never, no, I never, I
Okay.
know so many people that were obsessed and it just
I
never quite took hold for me.
can't believe they made this into a TV show. It's like so bad in the best ways, but it was, I think, like critically acclaimed back in the day. When it came out. But we've been watching it kind of slowly, like one episode here, there, whatever. But on Friday, we realized Netflix was like, you only have until the 31st and it's leaving Netflix. So now we're like on a rampage of like every time we have time, we're like, we got to put on an episode of Lost. So that's that. I don't know if that's a rant or a rave, but it's just like where my life is right now. That's what's going on.
Wow. Do you think if enough people stream it, they'll do like an encore thing and be like, JK?
No,
Okay.
they don't care about us. Clearly, we watched it too slowly. But I mean, I could crush it by myself in like a day, but since I'm watching it with Alex, you can't really do that.
You're a good girlfriend to wait for him.
You know, maybe I could leave him behind. All right, all right, all right. Let's get into today's topic, I guess. Um, I don't know how we chose this. Well, we just like didn't have any ideas. And this is like the last thing I'd read on the news. So, unfortunately for everybody else, now we're talking about it. But Grace, you didn't know about this before I told you. So maybe a lot of people don't know about it. I don't know why I do.
I feel like probably people don't know about it more
Yeah.
than they do, but Reyna brought it up and was like, I saw this crazy story. You've seen it, right? And I was like, no. So, okay, let's just start. Reyna, why don't you just tell us the little synopsis for those that may not have seen this particular item in the news cycle?
Okay. I just want to say this might be because I get my news from Yahoo News,
Interesting source.
which I didn't realize was weird. But one time Alex was behind me and he goes, "Did you just type in Yahoo News?" Like,
Oh, you like particularly
Yahoo.com.
you navigate to yahoo.com?
I think it's like a remnant from when I was like 12, when like my first email was a Yahoo domain.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I like totally forgot that Yahoo even existed, except for I feel like there's something like Yahoo News Finance or something that certain things are only
Yes.
ever on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody that's ever like purposely navigated to
Actually,
that.
you do, and it's me. Anyways, so I always get these like random news stories, but this one caught my eye because I think it touches on a lot of just like interesting topics itself that you can like pick apart. So basically, what happened at the University of Oklahoma, there was this junior med school, like pre-med student. She's a girl. Her name is, who cares what her name is? But anyways, she was in
Her
a
name is
class.
Samantha Fulnecki.
Okay, say her name. Okay, whatever. Anyways, so she was in like an undergrad psychology class for lifespan development, and their professor gave them this like article to respond to. The article had to do with bullying in like the middle school years for kids who don't fit gender norms. So like not necessarily trans kids because they're only like 12 or 13. So it's just like kids who don't fit the gender norms. The point of the paper that the University of Oklahoma students had to write was like a response to that article saying whatever they wanted. All right, so this girl writes a response, and the whole thing is basically it's like 700 words on how women are submissive to men. Well, women have roles and men have roles because that's what the Bible says. And then the professor gave her a 0. And then the other, or it was a like a graduate professor. So it's like a grad student, like a TA, I'm guessing. That's what they kept calling him. But in my head, it's like a TA, right?
Well, I don't know who they were.
I think it was a grad student, like teaching. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Like a teaching assistant.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then the other one, the other TA for that class or whatever was like, yeah, I agree. This is a 0. And so then the Samantha reported this instance to the university under like religious discrimination. And then the university put the TA or professor or whoever on administrative leave. And then also this girl has been like, being interviewed. She's like a hero for free speech or freedom of religion and yada, 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 yada. So, but I read the paper um, and it's bad.
Okay.
Like, I think it deserves, I don't know about a 0, but it's not well written. She doesn't sort like cite anything. And I think that I think you could actually write a real response to that and cite the Bible the whole way through and receive like a passing grade to that paper. But I also think that it's crazy to me, like in 2025, that at the university level that you can't respond. Like, let's say you do have these views that women are women and men are men, and these gender roles are assigned to you from the Bible. Like, if you are at a university level class, like, you need to be able to defend that in a real way.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so first question. Well, so this is basically what's basically happened is we're pitting religion up against gender studies.
Yeah,
which is
I think
a
that's
theme
kind of what happened.
kind of
Like,
a theme that's been present.
Yeah, and I don't think the
completely.
professor meant to do that.
Well, he just gave a yeah, the professor, I mean, nothing about it said anything about religion. She
Oh,
brought
wait,
the
the
religion in.
professor, I think, is trans.
Okay.
At least that's what the internet said, but I don't know who the professor is, so I was not able to find that. Like,
Okay.
look it up.
One interesting thing is when you first told me about this, I think I assumed she was in some sort of like gender studies, something or other kind of class, but a psychology class about the lifespan of development doesn't necessarily imply that you would be getting into like gender studies. So it does make more sense to me now why she was even in this class and having this assignment.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. I think when you're in psychology, you do learn about gender. And
I
if
never
you're
learned about it in my psychology masters. It wasn't like a main topic.
well,
Like,
you were in spirituality.
yeah. I mean, there probably are concentrations in it, but like I think you'd have
Yeah.
to seek it out a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
think it's part of core material, is what I mean.
But I would say that, like, when I looked at the article that was sent, it was more about bullying for kids who don't fit gender norms, not overtly about trans people.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay, so who's in the wrong?
The university.
Well, you think.
Yeah, that's what I think. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't even disagree with you. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
I think the university, because I think at the university level, listen, I think that this girl could write whatever she wanted. Like, she could have any opinion she wanted. Like, that's the point of university. But I think that if you want to defend your grade against a zero, then you need to have sound arguments. Like, think about your like writing 140 class.
For sure. I mean, I definitely have questions because I pulled up her paper. I pulled up the original article, which looks like a published paper. It's like a research
Right.
paper. I'm looking at the abstract at least, and it's talking about yeah, teasing of kids that don't fit like the typical gender, and then her reaction paper. But like I have questions. I have more questions because it's like, where's the assignment? Like I want to see what they assigned. Did they say she needed to cite sources? Did they
No.
not? If they just said write a reaction, then
So
that's like a pretty open-ended
I agree, because
thing.
I did look at the prompt and they didn't say anything about sources. So I was like, I feel like she didn't need to cite her sources. Like, I actually agree with that. Like, it didn't say anywhere, like, if on any paper I've had, it's always been like bibliography, blah, 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 blah. But her paper didn't answer the question.
Right. And I think oftentimes if they want a reaction paper, what they're assuming is that you're going to integrate topics, themes, elements that you've learned in the class or that you're talking about or that are relevant. And it seems like perhaps her response was somewhat irrelevant to the discussion,
Yeah.
which is sort of like a maybe less clear, but like assumed way that you would reply
Wait, what do you
to the
mean?
assignment. Like, yeah, like so you could get a zero. I mean, I don't know if they explicitly, I'm just thinking of classes I've been. Like in my master's, they would have classes where it was like, here's a thing, write a reaction. But like as the student, you know that you're supposed to be pulling in the themes and topics of what the
Yes.
teacher's been talking about.
Yes.
And like, and you can weave in,
Yes.
you can use your opinion and stuff, but you know you're supposed to be like
Well, and
integrating the knowledge.
like, you can use your opinion in any paper, but the point is, like, when you're in school, you're like, this is evidenced by blah, 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 blah. And then you say where you found that, like where you find that proof. And like, I think you could use the Bible.
Yeah,
The Bible's the book.
you can
Yeah.
definitely quote the Bible and use it as a source. It is a book. It's really popular. So you can definitely cite that, even if it was like citing sources. Because I asked you that, I think, at the beginning. I was like, well, you can cite, if they need to cite sources, you can cite the Bible, but the citing's not even to do with it. Okay, so riddle me this. What if, like, why does somebody have to be wrong and somebody have to be right? Why does it have to be that either the Christian girl's right or the trans professor is on leave? Like, why can't this girl just like get a C for this kind of dumb paper, and then we all move on.
Well, okay, I think that is actually that's why I think the university is at fault. Because instead of the university like doing their due diligence, what I consider due diligence, and like actually having a measured response to this, like let's say they have a problem with the teachers like grading practices, then you look into it and you maybe find a compromise or whatever. But like instead they put her on the professor on leave, and then they have this like spokesperson for religious rights, I guess. And like keep in mind, Oklahoma is the state that like they had a call for Bibles in the state at schools, and they wrote the request for Bibles, like the RFP, so specific that it only Trump's Bible fit the bill. They had to be Bibles bound in leather with the U.S. Constitution at the beginning of it, so that they could basically funnel money to the Trump campaign.
Trump has a Bible?
Yes, Trump has a Bible.
What does that even mean?
Let's look it up.
So I think we should link the things that you linked for me, the actual essay and this. Yeah, I think we should link this stuff and people can look at this themselves and tell us what they think. So I have a question, Reyna. Do you think, we're talking about the separation of church and state a bit here. Do you think that there is an appropriate space or place for religion in schools at all?
No. I mean, yes, like at this level, at the university level,
Yeah, I mean, I guess, um,
or like at all.
yeah, well, both. What's your view?
I don't think that there should be church in school. I mean, obviously you have private schools that can do whatever they want. If you want to go to religious school, you can. But University of Oklahoma, I'm guessing, is a public school that accepts federal funds. And so, although I don't think people should be like religiously persecuted at school for their beliefs, like I don't think that at all. I don't think religion should be dominating anything that happens at a public school.
Yeah, and I think there's the interesting fact that, like, as we pointed out, if she would have referenced her religion or religious beliefs or the Bible in a paper, she could have still done so in a way where she was having it be a comprehensive, like, intellectual
Right.
argument.
Yes.
And so in that way, I would say I do think it's fine for people to bring their religions into school environments or bring the fact that they are religious into a school. I think what we don't want is for schools to be secretly secretly dominated by a church if they're not supposed to be. Like you said, obviously there could be like a Catholic school that that's kind of like the overarching theme, but if you're not going to a Catholic school, then you should assume that it's secular and that
Yes.
any references that the students are making to their religion could be woven in.
Of
But
course,
it
because that's
is
your experience, right? Like
right,
every paper you write is informed by your experience and how you see the world. And if that lens is through religion, then that's fine.
for sure, for sure. But
Okay.
yeah,
But also, by the way, it's called God Bless the USA Bible. That's Trump's Bible. They're leather bound. It also includes the US Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance. So when the Oklahoma, it was like a city person, I don't know, someone who was like ordering books for schools, wrote the RFP. It had all those things in it, which obviously his Bible is the only Bible that has that stuff in it.
there's some like shady shit happening with the evangelical movement. Let me tell you, not to bring this back to Charlie Kirk, but there was some involvement
He's
with
evangelical, right? Or what?
well, some of the donors, basically like TP USA Faith, Turning
Wait,
Point USA Faith, is like this even hardcore evangelical related movement. And there's like really shady shit with one of the
they
pastors,
picked up this
Rob
story,
McCoy.
Turning Point. Like this Oklahoma,
Oh,
they're the ones who helped publicize it, actually. That's why it started making Yahoo News, whether or not that's national news, I don't know. They are the ones who publicize it. And then the other thing, when I was looking into this and it was like freedom of speech or whatever, they have a professor watch list or you can report professors who teach like liberal ideology.
Okay, that's a little scary. Why is
A
it a
little.
watch
A
list?
watch list.
A watch
A watch
list.
list.
As if they're terrorists.
Yes.
No, I'm definitely weirded out by the evangelical movement. There's some weird shit going on. I don't have like enough to go off of to really say anything except for that
Churches
shady
should be
shit.
taxed.
Shady shit. Um, well, I mean, I don't know. Should they be
I think if churches are making
billions?
no. Well, yes, but I think if churches are making political endorsements, they should be taxed.
That seems like that could be a good line,
Yeah.
a good part. Um, okay, so also interesting that it's called the Trump Bible, and I was going to make a statement that like
It's
this.
called God Bless the USA Bible, but
Oh, okay. You call it the Trump Bible.
no, because it is the Trump Bible.
Well, I was going to say, because what I was going to say about the separation of church and state is like, I do think that the church can be in the state, it could be a part of it, it could be as well as the synagogue. Um, I do think that there can be space for quote unquote church in the state or like bringing, weaving your own religion into your experience in school because it's part of who you are, like you said. But the Christian faith in particular should not be able to trump everything else,
Yeah.
which is, I think,
100%.
where when the separation between church and state is not happening, that's essentially what's happening, is the church is trumping the state.
Yeah, and for this, you can blame Ronald Reagan.
Was he the one how did he start that?
Yeah, there's like, I mean, I don't have everything in front of me, and I have this like vendetta against him. Like, if he wasn't dead, I would go out and kill him myself. But
Watch out, you're gonna get added to a watch list.
I know I'm gonna be on some watch list. Yeah, probably like a terrorist list. But anyways, no, like there's a lot of like the religious right is like a relatively new movement, especially as it relates to Republicans, especially like that's kind of new. It's relatively new and it was really popularized with Reagan. I think it might have started with Nixon. I'm not really sure. Someone can correct me. But even something like abortions, for instance, like before Roe v. Wade, abortions, like the clandestine abortions, were done with the network of the church. The church was actually like a really big helper in connecting women with doctors who would perform abortions outside of the hospital because they were illegal. And then, as far as like religion goes, basically only the Catholics were like, I think even like a small sect of the Catholics were against abortion back in the day because they have something specific in their religion about murder or whatever. And then this argument about conception. But then there was what I read was that there was an issue when they started to desegregate the schools. Um, and the last schools in the South would not be desegregated. Jimmy Carter pulled funding from those schools that wouldn't desegregate. And a lot of them were private evangelical Christian schools who then got mad that the president had the power to do something like that. And so then in turn, because Jimmy Carter was president 77 to 81, starts this movement of all the evangelicals in the South banding together to create political power.
Okay. And then they helped elect Reagan, or what? Was Reagan next?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't
So
even
he
know
was
if he was
riding
particularly
besides.
religious. I have no idea.
Got it. But maybe he was using it to his advantage. Maybe they wanted to put somebody in power that could like have their agenda.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't mean for this to be like a history lesson.
No, I mean, I think this is important. Also, we'll have to do we'll do an episode at some point about women's rights and abortion and body autonomy. So we'll go there. So this is a good precursor. Set them up.
Oh, yeah.
Set them up with the
Stay
info.
tuned.
It is true though about the churches. Like they would like help women because, yeah. I mean,
But what did you find out about these evangelical churches?
okay. Well, in efforts of not sounding like a crazy conspiracy theorist who it was just following these tangents without any hard evidence. I don't know that I have like all of it quite sorted out, but when you like follow these threads and they're like leading somewhere and you're not quite sure where it all leads. But basically the TP USA faith, Pastor Rob McCoy is like a huge leader in that.
Could we remind them what TPUSA is?
Turning Point USA.
Which is?
Oh, okay. So Turning Point USA.
It's because not everyone's in Grace's tangent, and she's still researching Charlie Kirk. So I have a PowerPoint. Charlie Kirk's death. Sorry.
I have a PowerPoint. Okay, so
break it down better.
So TPUSA, Turning Point USA, is the right-wing young conservative movement that Charlie Kirk was the CEO of, which now Erica Kirk, his widowed wife, is now the CEO of. And they have this like sector arm that was like TP USA Faith that is all like intermingled with the evangelical movement. And so they had a lot of churches like donating to him and whatever, because they're like, okay, this is this voice of a generation. So Charlie Kirk was aligned to their agenda. And again, he was just like literally in his own truth. Like that is just truly what he believed. But so some people are worried that they were also involved with the fact that he was maybe like, I don't know, becoming harder to control. Maybe he used to have sort of like handlers involved, and then he's sort of like going out on a limb. But all we do know, I think this was the shadiest thing of all that happened, was the event where Charlie Kirk supposedly gets murdered.
I mean, he's dead.
We think so. We haven't like seen the medical examiner's report or like, I mean, anything's on the table at this point. You can't be sure. But they set up this camera behind him for this event that was supposedly streaming this event to specifically the person that his team said was Rob McCoy, the pastor.
Oh, okay. I was like, where? I forgot. Okay, now
where we're going with this?
Yeah. I was like, now I just let her loose on this random tangent again. I was like, oh my God. Now I remember where we were going.
Okay, so I know this because Candace Owens, who is obviously was Charlie's good friend and who is investigating this whole murder and potential conspiracy against him, was asking, because she's done all these events with him like countless times, and she's done events like this, and they've never had the cameras behind. It was a camera behind his head facing out at the crowd. And she was like, why was this camera here? Rob McCoy has two sons that work for TPUSA. It was like Charlie's right-hand man, Mikey McCoy, and this other McCoy, I forget his name, the other brother. And so she was like asking them and the team, like, why was this camera here? And they're like, well, Rob just really wanted to be able to watch this event in real time. He didn't want to have to wait for the TV lag time. He needed to see it in the instantaneous form. So we set up a video just to specifically for him to stream this instantaneously. Super fucking weird. And then after Charlie gets shot, one of the first things that somebody on his team does while they're like literally carrying away his body, or like right after they do, is go and take down the camera, take out the SD card, put it in their pocket, and like leave.
Oh yeah, and you guys don't know where that is, right?
One of the team members has it. They didn't leave it. You leave it at this crime scene. They took it for themselves, hid it away, won't show it to people. And it was very strange. And also like there was strange activity of Mike McCoy, who is Rob McCoy's son, who at the moment that Charlie Kirk gets shot, puts a phone to his ear, literally within a second of Charlie getting shot, puts a phone to his ear, turns around and calmly walks the other direction. And in one interview, he says he was calling his dad,
who was on the live stream.
on their live stream to see for himself that exact moment. And to somebody else says he called Erica. Erica says that he called her and she already knew he was dead. Rob McCoy says that he called him and asked him to pray for him. Nobody, like, something fucking weird was happening where Rob obviously was, Mikey McCoy was obviously ready, waiting to call somebody to notify something. Other people already had cameras set up to get their own video confirmation of something. Shit was weird.
I mean, I think churches like collectively have way too much power. The, and I think it is especially the evangelical churches. I don't know if they're like in a union or something, like, or what the fuck's going on with them. And they originally are not taxed because they're supposed to be doing charity for the communities. And I don't know if you saw this girl on TikTok who was going around calling churches, um, pretending that she had like a hungry baby, asking them to see if they would give her any formula. And she called like 30 churches, and only like 9 of them said yes. And a lot of them were either Black churches, like Baptist churches, or mosques. I don't know if she called me temples, to be honest, but none of the like Christian churches, the white Christian churches, they would be like, sorry, we don't do that. And then they would hang up. And it was kind of wild.
There's definitely some sort of racket happening. And there's been, I mean, again, to plug my new
Personality.
I was going to say my new favorite person, Candace, but I don't even know about it. She's just breaking the news, but she was looking into some really weird stuff around some of these pastors, like looking into Rob McCoy, who hired like a known sex offender who was like in jail for like 10 years for like harassing these young girls, asking them to help him find his cat and then like touching them and stuff.
Those are family values, baby.
In multiple different communities. This guy like goes to prison, and then Rob McCoy like hires him to work at his church to work with youths.
Oh my God.
And it was like just really fucking weird shit. And no, there's this whole movement that like a bunch of, okay, well, whatever. I could go down these tangents, but I don't know.
Okay, so the whole point of that is like, I don't know how we got here, to be honest.
Something shady is happening in the evangelical world.
The separation between church and state, because something very shady is happening.
Just because somebody says that they are the voice of God or whatever, or like that they're good because they're part of a church or a God, it's like they're just people, and they can also pervert that and use that for their own agenda.
100%. I mean, yeah.
Which, like, haven't we seen that like in the past couple thousand years?
I think the problem with the church, though, is that like people, not everybody, right? Like, I'm talking in sweeping generalizations, but the problem that people have at churches is they act so morally superior, and the people who go to church can be that way too. And that is like, I don't know. That's the worst part.
There definitely are good churches also. I just want to say I've been to lovely, I attend church with my mom, with my mother-in-law. I like love a good solid church service with a nice pastor with a good message, who I think and feel is probably a good person doing things for the right reasons. But that doesn't mean that there can't also be
corruption.
Correct.
Stuff like that.
Have we kind of forgotten, like, remember that whole scandal that was like the Catholic priests molesting altar boys and stuff?
No, people have not forgotten about that.
That's like why people turned against the church. But then like people act like, I don't know, you start being like, I don't know what's going on in the evangelical world, and people are like, don't be a conspiracy theorist. And it's like, we've seen,
No, I mean, they're crazy.
Yeah,
they're crazy. I don't even know. Do you know what an evangelical Christian is?
That's funny because I don't know that I know the proper definition, but the other night we were out at this little like holiday fair thing in town in Laguna, and there was like this one church that was like handing out cookies, which was cute. I mean, they're just, everybody's doing whatever, and there's like a church table, they're handing out cookies, and they have this sign, and they're like, you know, church by the sea or something, and it was like, no EV church, like no Ev church or something. And I was like, what is that? I was looking at it, rereading it. I'm like, what are they talking about? And my mom was with me, and she goes, I think maybe they mean like not evangelical.
So the church is not, they didn't want to be associated.
We're calling out, like, we're EV free.
Good for them. Good for them.
They're like,
yeah, I can get down with that. I can get down with that. That's awesome.
Also, I don't know, maybe are there evangelical churches that aren't evil? Whoa.
Oh, they're spelling it out to us. Literally. Oh my God, the signs were there the whole time.
Okay, but I don't know enough about the definition to know whether it's like, is it all evangelical equals they are corrupt and doing shady shit? Or is it like within the evangelical world, some of that and some are regular? I don't
I'm
know.
gonna get some serious hate mail, I feel like, because
Okay.
once I read this book about, it wasn't even a Bible, it was like it was like a imagined history of what Jesus's wife would be like if Jesus had a wife. The author's theory was that he did have a wife because a Jewish man at that age would have been married at that time, and that she's been erased from history. The book was really interesting to me. Like nothing happened I mean, you know what happens. He dies. But like when I went to go read the reviews, it was all like sin, blasphemy, like I was like blowing my mind. I'm like, she made this up. It's not real. It's not real. But just her having the idea was like disgusting to these people.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, what about Mary Magdalene though?
She was in the book too. Oh,
But she was like
she's
not
like a
the
groupie
wife.
though. Have you heard that thing where it's like Jesus was definitely gay and like all his disciples were like all his gay friends, and then Mary Magdalene was just like, that one gay, the girl gay like friend that's in the group, and they were all just like bopping around.
I have not heard that, but now we're gonna get the hate mail.
I'm like, that's a theory I can get behind.
I mean, he definitely was like an interesting energy. He's very like everybody love everybody. Like I just like when I think of like the men that I meet that are like Christ-like, if I could say that, they're not like hyper masculine.
They're not gay. Let's say that. They're not gay.
It's not necessarily.
Me and my 12 friends, gay friends, and we're just like gonna go around together speaking the good word. Yeah, that's gay.
I like Jesus though. And I'm
Say you don't like gay people? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying I don't want people to misconstrue that we're like making fun of Jesus. I'm even Jewish and I like really respect Jesus. Did you know he was the original Reiki master?
Oh, nice.
In my way of thinking about it.
It's another gay thing, but yeah, no, I don't care about Jesus Christ, the man, the myth, the legend, but I think it's more about like how do we pervert moral teachings. The Bible is like a book of stories that we've like used to I almost said castrate people. What's the word I'm thinking of? Don't edit that out.
Metaphorically,
you know what I mean.
Them.
Like persecute people.
I mean, the problem, the reason why the United States is all like conflated with the church and state is like there was such a long time period where like the value systems were only defined by the church. Like that was what people understood as like,
yes.
That's why people talk about strong Christian values, or they're like,
Yeah.
well, you don't have to be Christian, but our country is built on Christian values. And in a way, it is built on Christian values, and that doesn't actually have to be bad.
That's not a bad thing.
Right. If you look at the values of loving kindness to your neighbor and like, respecting people and wanting to like help the poor and whatever, like these are, I don't know, well, we don't do that in the US.
Yeah, we don't.
Those are Christian values.
We don't do any of the good Christian values, only the made up ones that are bad. Also, America was founded by all the religious nuts. Like England was like, you guys are all crazy, get the fuck out of here, and shipped them all to the United States.
Oh, all the Protestants.
It's all the people who like didn't fit in England, and it was like, like I don't know. I don't even know the different kinds of religions, but that's all who came here. They shipped all the criminals over to Australia. They shipped all the like crazy religious people here.
I don't know if they shipped them here, but they came.
That's how they got here. They shipped them. They're like I think they were voluntold.
Wasn't it that they felt like they were not persecuted, but like
I think they
not having the proper representation, so they wanted to like start their own?
No, I think that's when we broke it off.
Well, that's no taxation without
exactly. That's like, that's like a long time after. Anyways, we are off topic.
Are we though?
No, we're like still kind of on topic.
What even is
the top topic? No, I just wanted to use it as a jumping off point to talk about whatever. And I guess you saw where
Oh,
we
we
landed on.
were going to talk about gender.
Yes, we were.
We were going to talk about gender because when Reyna told me that story, what it obviously brought up to me was, okay, this is like another kind of culture war moment for us to fight against. Like, are we here to defend people with the new, more fluid genders, or do we want to stick to, like, again, that kind of Christian,
Rigid.
rigid, male, female only, and they are the only ones that are supposed to marry and like all that?
Well, neo-Christian, I would say, like, I don't actually know if the Bible actually says anything to that effect, and I don't want to blame the Bible for our modern day evangelical interpretation. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, the Bible, yeah. I mean, it basically just sets up male, women, their partners, they get married. It does talk about, I mean, doesn't it talk about sodomy is like a thing?
Sodomy could be anybody, though. It doesn't have to be like you could be sodomized.
True. True.
Yeah. I mean, and also like the Bible's been interpreted. So like
Oh, for sure. It
some of
gets
these,
translated.
yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people think that Leviticus that people cite against like being gay, like man shall not lay with man, people think that it could have actually been man shall not lay with boy.
Definitely could have been. I mean, who knows? We'll never know. This is part of why I like Judaism just to study, because it's like more closer to the truth. It's been translated less, or like they're still translating it in real time from like Hebrew. You know what I mean? It's like less uh it's kind of like if you're playing telephone.
It's closer to the source.
Yeah, like if
What
you're
was the
playing,
Bible written in? Hebrew.
well,
Well, the first part.
originally the Old
Yeah,
Testament,
start.
was Hebrew, and then the New Testament was probably, what was that written in?
I don't know. Someone just let us know. Do we have any church friends?
Any
You're not going to admit it. We're not going to get it now.
any evangelicals in the mix?
45 minutes of just slamming the church. They're going to be like, me, I can help you.
Okay, but I do want to pivot a little bit,
Yeah.
because here's the thing. I am all for, like, love is love. People love, kiss, marry, sodomize, whoever you want.
Oh, yeah.
I like, that doesn't bother me. And I think for the majority of the population, I actually think that I always think this about most topics. I think the majority of the population is actually more thinks the same than thinks different. I think the majority of the population doesn't really care if a grown-ass man wants to decide that instead they'd rather be a woman, dress that way, whatever. Like, it's like, okay, great. Like, I think there's a small percentage of people that are going to be really like offended by that and say it goes against their religion and want to fight against that and, you know, be really loud about it. But I think that's a really small percentage of the population. I do think, though, there are people who are afraid of the left, the progressives, the liberals going too extreme, too far, to the point that it feels like a little bit, I don't know, overkill, too progressive, maybe going down a road or a path that we don't quite know where exactly it's leading. We don't quite know if it's leading in a good place. Like, this is what the difference between like the conservative side and the liberal side is, right? The conservative side is like, we're going to conserve the values and things that we know of and the way that things have been done because that's what we feel comfortable with. And the progressives being like, we are going to progress in forward to a new way where you can be any gender. You could be no gender.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the first thing I want to address is like, the first statement you made was just like, I think that most people think the same. Normally, usually, or like generally, I agree with you. The problem is, especially for trans like topics or whatever, like, except for the fact that there's a lot of propaganda that is actually being made to target those people who maybe don't really care about what's going on, but have like real fear or real questions, and that they're being fed messaging in the exact way to make them actually hate that, the questions, like hate trans people or hate anyone questioning gender identity, or even just the idea that there could be more than two genders.
Propaganda, like pretending that a gay guy with a trans girlfriend shot Charlie Kirk from 200 deaths
Exactly.
away.
100%. I mean,
But I know. And yes, but I think that as a person who doesn't really identify as a Democrat or a Republican, which is me, and who does believe, again, that like they're making culture wars out of things that are usually like these extreme cases and like exceptions, as opposed to like the reality of what
yeah.
is actually, yeah, I don't know, more of like the mainstream reality. I do think a topic that I can say I question isn't it about whether trans people should be allowed to exist or allowed to choose their pronouns or allowed to do anything that they want to do. It's like more power to them. I think there are questions when it comes to what you're doing in school, what you're teaching to kids, because as a parent, for example, as a parent with young children, I'm not worried about my young children like meeting a trans person or like, I mean, we literally had a trans neighbor and it's like, and they literally had asked the question, like, is that a man or is that a woman? And you
Yeah.
have to answer it. And that's like, that doesn't make me uncomfortable. That's just the world that we live in.
Yeah.
What I do worry about is knowing that I have children myself and seeing young children and then seeing some of the instances of um, kids that have been affirmed, gender affirmed at a very young age. And then actually the stories we're seeing and the data we're seeing now that kids that are going through gender transitions when they're 12, 13, 14, having the worst outcomes ever. Like it's like, I mean, you can talk, there's speakers, people that transitioned and then are trying to transition back and whatever. And they're out there speaking and being like, I should not have transitioned when I was 13 years old. I did not know what was going on. My body wasn't even mature yet. I was confused. I was whatever. And so I do think there's like legitimate questions as to at what age is it appropriate to be having these conversations with kids? At what age is it appropriate for somebody to decide and to say that they know that they are a different, a different gender than their sex? Am I using that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think so.
and I think what really puts like the legitimate debate on the table is it right for schools and teachers to affirm have like gender affirming care or doctors to be able to provide gender affirming care to minors without their parents' consent?
So, to me, gender affirming care is like a really wide range of things. It could be so many things, including care that is given to minors who identify with the same gender as the one that they were born with. So, like, that would be like lasering off like unwanted body hair. Like, that's gender affirming care. Like, you don't have to be changing gender to receive gender affirming care. So, I think you need to be a little bit more specific about what you mean.
So I think what like the worry, and this is probably also an exception more than the rule. I don't know how often this is happening, but there are states where, let's say, like a kid could go into a counselor's office, or this is what people are worried about. This is what people are worried about. There's a 13-year-old kid who's going through it. They're having an identity crisis, not unlike those that we all have had. They're
Yeah,
having an
no.
identity crisis. They are unhappy. They don't have friends. They're being teased. Maybe they are questioning their sexuality. Maybe they are a boy and they're attracted to other boys, and maybe people make fun of them and call them a girl and whatever. And they're just confused. And for them to be able to go into a school counselor and for a school counselor to be able to say, maybe you're actually a girl and maybe you are a girl. And then they can ask their teachers to call them by different pronouns without like, before their parents even know. They can like go home and be like, the parents find out that in school, in class, that kid is now going by she, her, whatever. And I think it's just a slippery slope because in some
But
cases,
why? Okay, hold on. Because one, this already sounds like propaganda to me. Okay. Two, like, what if you had abusive parents at home? And what if, like, you do feel that way inside? And, like, the idea that your counselor would tell you that you are a different gender, to me, that's the part that sounds like propaganda. Like, that to me, maybe that has happened. And maybe that has happened to some kids somewhere, somehow. But that is not how counselors are supposed to be treating students or children or whatever, their patients. I think in any state, even like my therapist would not give me a diagnosis. They're really hesitant to give you a diagnosis for something because it'll follow you around for the rest of your life. But like where my mind immediately went to is like, imagine a kid that doesn't conform with their gender identity. What if they have an evangelical Christian dad? What if they don't want to go home and tell their dad that they don't feel like a boy because they might get beat when they're at home? So sometimes school is the only safe place where you can express yourself and like be the person that you want to be. And to me, like when you're 11, 12, 13, I don't know if you should be able to transition or take hormones. I think is something that you might be concerned about at that age. And yes, you if you are doing that, you should have a whole care team that's helping you like get to that point. Because that time in your life is already very confusing. But like, you know, the people that age or children that age should be allowed to wonder or dream up or question or and have a safe space to do that.
agree for sure. I think it's like when kids are in that really impressionable and I mean, it's really interesting because now, okay, like look at the fact that I think trans people have always been a certain percentage of the population and it's really small. It's like 0.5% or
Yeah,
something,
it is.
like historically, and
Yeah.
that are like born just in terms of like medically trans. I don't know, is that the right term? Like
I
born
think
with
that
both
like
male
almost
and
even less.
female
Yeah.
parts. And then, of course, throughout history, there's always also people that felt like, we've always had like cross dressers and like people that were doing things that maybe were different ways of expressing what now people decide to transition fully their body into another gender. But like the rates, I mean, just anecdotally, I mean, Ryan has like nieces that are in high school right now, and just like to hear them and their friends talk about who's theys and who's different, going by a boy's name and like all sorts of things. And it feels like a really high percentage. And then I also feel like some of those kids are just playing around and trying out
Yeah.
identities and trying things out, which doesn't have to be a big deal. It's like, okay, yeah, so you want to be called a boy? I mean, I went through a tomboy phase at one point in my life. Like, I think a lot of us do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a big deal or something that we like can't let them play around with the idea of what if I was a
Yeah.
boy. But I think where parents do get afraid is gender affirming care might not be like it might not only be transitioning, but it also includes literally giving hormones and beginning that path. And there are places and examples where kids have started out on this path when they're 13, 14, and then it's led to worse outcomes. They just did a huge study in Europe about this. So again, I'm saying like I don't think it is a huge problem, but I think that's where like the debate happens is like what is the point at which we think that individuals are mature enough and know themselves well enough to officially choose
Yeah.
what they're going to be to the point that they're going to like surgically, medically, hormonally be changing from their birth given
I
gender.
think the more accepting you are of not you, the general you, of the fact that gender doesn't necessarily have a specific look, whatever, the less that people may care about those things in general. And then also, I think that like this is just one of those things where people are making laws about the exceptions, like you said. Like they're taking these 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever, 15, 20 examples and making really big news stories out of them to then like to have legislation. And then it becomes really dangerous for trans people because instead of people being like curious or being like, you know what, people should just do whatever, or you know what, that's between them, their doctor, and whatever. And then being able to write, maybe like you're saying, like, how can we protect children basically from invasive, whatever, medical procedures or whatever. Um, you can't really do that because we can't even have a conversation about it because, like, instead of being a little bit more, um, I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but just like thoughtful, it's instead driven by the side that has so much hate and fear in their hearts about this topic. And that's just like not the place that you legislate from, especially for children who already have really bad mental health outcomes if they don't receive gender affirming care.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fear-based. I think there's always fear-mongering on both sides of just looking at the worst possible cases for everybody. And I don't know, I do really just believe that the majority of people are just trying to do their best. I mean, it's about, yeah, how to protect children and like I think parents' rights is something that comes up a lot with like school and sex and religion and whatever. It's like the sovereignty of the parents to decide how they want to treat certain things or go about certain things or make certain decisions or have certain conversations. I see those conversations coming up time and time again, like debates or whatever in the news coming up time and time again that really just have to do with parents wanting to feel like they have a certain sense of sovereignty over what's happening with their kids. And I kind of get it now as a parent because you like send your kids off and then they're in this like black box for, from 8 to 3 p.m. and you only have little windows into what's actually happening in there. So I think it can be a little bit scary when, I don't know, it's like, what are the intentions? What are the
Yeah, well, like
values? And what are
we're putting trans kids at
no,
school, but like
no, I don't think
I do
that.
think that most teachers do a good job of explaining things for the level of your kid, and that like most kids, but I feel like most kids don't actually care about what's going on if you're just explaining to them like what trans is and that this is an option. I know that like my I know someone who has a trans niece, and the only reason why she got the idea, to your point, was because of school. But like it wasn't like it was just like, hey, like I don't think I feel like a girl. And that was it. And there's nothing else to it. And now they go by they them, but to me they dress kind of like feminine still. But I think, like, to your point about like sovereignty with parents and children, I think to me it's kind of like, well, also, you know you best, and I know your kids are, they're young, they're 5, whatever, but they also are so much more almost like developed mentally than we give them credit for, and they do have a strong sense of self.
Well, and if you're a good parent, you know your fucking kids. I think that's also the problem is like some of these laws, like you're looking at it from the point of like, oh, it could be protecting a kid who doesn't have a good home life. But then parents that do offer a good home life are accepting of their children, do know their children well, are like, I'm sorry, I think I know my kids better than this teacher that met them 5 seconds ago.
But do they?
So
Because every person I know has so much childhood trauma from their parents.
I guess it depends
Every person I
what
know
kind
has
of
been fucked
parent
up
you
by
are.
their parents in some which way. So do they know their kids as well they think? Do parents have the best ideas? Because how many people do you know have been traumatized by their teachers?
Um, I'm sure it's
Of
happened.
course, but almost everyone is traumatized by their parents.
I mean, traumatized. I think it's just part of being a human that you're gonna navigate. It's like part of the lifetime challenges that you have to navigate is how to be a child to your kid. I mean, a child to your parents. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I would like to think that I am accepting of my children and how they are and knowing them very well that if one of them was like, I'm a they, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
I think
but I
that
think it
for
depends on
you,
the parent.
I think that for you, because you feel like that, I don't think you would be upset if they told someone at school. You would feel sad, as in like, how come you didn't feel like you could tell me? But
Yeah.
like,
But let's say that they were a they and they told someone at school, and then that person is getting them to talk to some doctor and they don't need my approval for them to start taking medicine. I would care about that.
Yeah.
And I would say, look, you can be a they, you can be a whatever, but I want to know what you're putting in your body when you're 14 years old.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, that's just because kids can make really irrational
They can,
decisions.
100%. I agree.
I still make irrational decisions and I'm 35.
I think it's slippery because one of the things I know you can do, I think in California without your parental consent, is abortions. And so like it's very hard to make laws because you want something like abortions to be available to teenagers. So like how can you make laws that let them have body autonomy, but then also don't?
Right. And is it right if you're allowed to get an abortion? Yeah. Should you be allowed to get an abortion but not allowed to transition? I mean, I think yes, but is that...
Yeah, you think yes.
I believe yes.
I don't know what I think. I think I would need to know more about like, I think there's so many different levels to transitioning that like, it's hard to be like black and white.
Well, I think anytime you're taking medicine or potentially having
But what about
surgery...
birth control?
Yeah.
Abortion is medicine and surgery.
No, I know. I'm saying but for the transitioning, like, I don't care if they dress however they want or if they like wrap like a athletic wrap around their boobs, but to like chop off your boobs is a pretty big decision.
I mean, some would argue so is removing a fetus.
True.
So like,
Right.
That's why like,
I don't have all the answers.
because then when you write the law, it's like, okay, only when you're 14, you can do whatever you want, except if you're trans, then you can't do shit. Like that's why you gotta, whatever. Obviously we have more to discuss about this.
We do. Well, I
gotta
think
go.
the main takeaway is that I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not saying there's like one right way or one side's right or not the other. I guess what we have done a little bit is unwrap into the heart of what these debates are really about, which is like this nuance, right? And I think like the nuance is where it gets tricky, and then it gets conflated into these big headlines of like, are you allowed to do this in school or not, or blah, blah, blah. But like really it's about like this like intricate nuance. And I think most people actually agree on the majority of it. So
I think how can you get to any of it without having conversation? Because think about like the conversation we just had and how many places we agreed or disagreed and have different viewpoints, but we're not doing any of that. And I just don't feel comfortable with anyone legislating without having any of these conversations.
Oh, you don't think we're talking about it? I think it's really being talked about.
Not in a real way. People are talking, me and you, we are obviously talking about it. No, I meant like in the ether, like in the world, people are talking at each other. Obviously, some people are having actual conversation, but like, well, I mean, that's why we have this podcast, right? If people were actually having conversation, then I think the whole outcome would be different. But people are talking at each other and not like with each other. And I kind of get it because on one side, people are afraid of death and dying or whatever. And the other side, what I have to ask what conservative people is like, why they care so much about people's private parts. It's like constantly on their mind. Like, who are you having sex with? Is it a boy? You're a boy? Yeah, the fucking perverts. Like what bathroom do you go in? Why do you fuck?
I mean, Pizzagate, we know all of the politicians in power are actually child sex traffickers.
Oh, God.
Okay. All right. Well, I do have to go pick up my kids from their school where they're hopefully not being converted.
They're transitioning right now.
I have to get them before they transition.
Yeah, Evan and OJ. OJ keeps her name.
You know what? Last thing I'm going to say is that when I was pregnant, we never knew the genders beforehand. We would just find out when they were born. And we used to joke about it because I'd be like, well, it doesn't really matter if we find out that they're a girl, because who knows? They could be born and then they could just be a boy anyway. Well, keep church and state separate. Wellness hack of the week.
Oh, shit. Wellness hack of the week?
No, wellness hack of the week is, I think, keep church and state separate.
Yeah. Read a book.
Check on your trans friends? No.
Check on your friends.
Anybody.
It's winter. It's cold here now in New York, so check on people.
Check on people in the cold weather for seasonal depression.
Yeah, exactly. Check on me. How about this? Call to action. Check on Reyna via text.
I live in a fair weather state, so I'm good. Don't check on me.
Yeah, don't check on Grace.
Whatever you do. Okay, love you guys.
Bye.